Now, Colorado not alone in suffering from drought. A major reservoir along the Colorado River has hit a grim milestone.
In 2021, Las Vegas, a city built in the middle of the desert, faced a shocking reality. The largest reservoir in the United States, Lake Mead, was drying up, and the Southern Nevada Water Authority was forced to drill beneath the lake.
One of this century's most ambitious projects at the largest reservoir in the nation, which looked like this in 2000. Take a look at what it looks like now. It was so low it could become useless to communities that rely on it.
Not because of a sudden drought, but because the lake had been quietly draining for over 2 decades. The existing water intake pipes were on the brink of running dry. Without a drastic solution, Las Vegas faced a severe water shortage. But here's the thing. The answer isn't just about drought or climate change.
There are a couple of folks who disappeared at a very crucial time, a very stressful time for the outfit in Las Vegas.
It all goes back to a legal agreement signed nearly a century ago. An agreement built on catastrophic miscalculations. One that is now threatening the entire American West's water supply. Las Vegas, a city built against the odds. Las Vegas was never meant to thrive in the Mojave Desert. Just 4 inches of rain a year. Temperatures regularly topping 115 degrees.
Also new tonight, a decade-long engineering project at Lake Mead is finished. The goal is to make sure the valley's water supply is all but guaranteed, even though the lake's water level continues to fall.
The idea of a major city surviving here seemed almost impossible. And yet, Las Vegas defied every expectation. In 1940, it was a small railroad town of just 8,000 people. By the 1990s, it had become one of the fastest-growing metro areas in American history. Millions of tourists, new residents flooding in from across the country, an economy built on entertainment, gaming, and the kind of nightlife that never sleeps. But that kind of explosive growth comes with a price. Today, Las Vegas uses a staggering 98 billion gallons of water every single year. And nearly 90% of it comes from one place, Lake Mead, fed by the Colorado River. As the population kept climbing, the pressure on that water supply grew with it, and the city's survival became increasingly tied to a resource that was shrinking faster than anyone wanted to admit. Lake Mead, the lifeline for Las Vegas. Lake Mead sits on the Nevada-Arizona border. It is the largest reservoir in the United States, and without it, Las Vegas simply would not exist. The lake was created when the Hoover Dam was built in the 1930s, designed to supply water to southern Nevada's growing population. For decades, it did exactly that. But the Colorado River feeding it had been mismanaged for nearly a century. In 1922, the Colorado River Compact divided the river's water among 7 western states. The problem? The allocation was based on data from unusually wet decades. It was generous on paper, but dangerously optimistic in practice. There was no buffer built in for drought, no room for error. And as climate change pushed conditions to extremes, the lake began draining faster than anyone had projected. Las Vegas was caught in a trap, locked into a water system that was never designed to handle reality. The first 2 straws, a temporary solution. Las Vegas knew early on that it was operating on thin margins. In 1971, the city built its first intake pipe at 1,050 feet above sea level. The assumption? The lake would stay full enough to make it work. By the early 1990s, as the population doubled, that pipe was no longer reliable. Engineers moved quickly and built a second intake at 1,000 feet, a backup for the backup. But by the early 2000s, It was clear that both pipes had been designed for a world that no longer existed. Water levels were unstable. Both intakes were becoming less and less effective. And the gap between the city's demand and what it could actually access was growing fast. The city needed something far more drastic. The third straw, drilling beneath the lake. What engineers at the Southern Nevada Water Authority came up with was unlike anything that had ever been attempted before. A third intake pipe, not built above the lake's surface like the first two, but drilled 3 miles beneath it, deeper than any municipal water intake ever constructed in the United States, reaching water at an elevation of just 860 feet. To get there, workers would have to drill through solid volcanic rock, one of the hardest materials on Earth, and they would have to do it 300 feet underwater. The project kicked off in 2008. The tunnel boring machine, nicknamed Sandy, was custom built for the job. And from the very beginning, nothing about it was easy. Challenges. During construction, a test of resilience. The first year of drilling was later described as a series of controlled emergencies. The geological surveys hadn't predicted everything. Engineers hit unpredictable volcanic formations that didn't match what they had mapped. Equipment failures were a constant threat. Underground fissures sent water flooding in. Temperatures deep inside the tunnel pushed workers to their limits. Every calculation had to be precise. Every measurement had to hold. The tunnel couldn't afford to veer off course, not even slightly. And through all of it, the crew kept drilling. Because they knew this wasn't just an engineering project. It was the city's only option. The $1.4 billion gamble, the cost of survival. When the final bill came in, it was staggering. $1.4 billion. The most expensive municipal water infrastructure project in United States history. That number didn't sit well with everyone. Residents were already paying higher water rates. Environmental groups argued that the money could have gone toward desalination or water recycling programs. Politicians pushed back. But the Southern Nevada Water Authority didn't flinch. This wasn't about growth. This wasn't about attracting more tourists or building more resorts. This was about survival. Without the third intake, Las Vegas's water supply would eventually collapse. And at that point, the cost of doing nothing would have been far greater than $1.4 billion. The 2026 water crisis, the fight for the future. Even with the new intake in place, the crisis didn't stop. By 2022, Lake Mead had dropped to just over 1,040 feet, putting dangerous pressure on the very first intake pipe. The lake was sitting at just 26% of its total capacity, the lowest level ever recorded. Water managers declared an official shortage on the Colorado River. Cuts were handed down to states across the region, and the projections going forward weren't reassuring. The region is expected to get hotter, drier, more unpredictable. Without the third intake, experts believe Southern Nevada would have faced emergency restrictions, severe enough to shake the entire regional economy. The third straw bought time, but it didn't solve the problem. Las Vegas and the future of water in the West. The story of Las Vegas and Lake Mead is more than a story about one city's water supply. It's a warning about what happens when you build systems on optimistic assumptions, when you ignore what the data is telling you. when you keep growing in a place that was never designed to support it. The third intake pipe was a remarkable feat of engineering. But it is not a solution. It is a delay. Las Vegas still consumes more water than it can sustainably support. The lake is still shrinking, and the legal framework governing the entire Colorado River system is still built on numbers that were wrong 100 years ago. Climate change, population growth, and decades of mismanagement have created a situation with no easy exit. The third straw may have kept the lights on for now, but the future of Las Vegas and the entire American West depends on something no tunnel can provide: the wisdom to use what's left wisely. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, make sure to like and subscribe for more incredible insights.